Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Agni, and in my last video I mentioned that I learned Italian with the story learning method. Well, before starting I had a lot of doubts in my mind because I did not knew anything in the language, and I had to read a book in the language, so it was kind of a big leap of faith for me at that point of time as an absolute beginner. I had to pile up a lot of courage to trust it, to believe that this is going to work, because in this method you'll not start getting results from the first day. This is kind of a long run type of thing. Story learning is not an orthodox way of learning a language which was taught in schools. Memorizing random vocabs, cramming grammar rules, articles, tenses, prepositions, clauses, and a lot of things which we read just for passing our exams. So stories can be a way of learning everything with fun, as we forget about everything else and dive into the plot of the story. They help us a lot to remember, as to learn and remember things quite easily. As we get involved in them, we live them as if they're true. So that helps us to get things in our subconscious memory more quickly. So these are a few tips on how I approach story learning method, and how you guys can also learn a language hassle-free without cramming any grammar, tense, or vocabulary, just through reading. Number 1, immerse yourself as much as possible. The first thing is to immerse yourself in the language as much as you can. It's very important to expose your ears to the new sounds of the languages. So for the first few weeks, forget about everything else and just consume loads of input by reading and listening. Number 2, always read at your own level. It's super important to find content at your own level to learn more efficiently. As an absolute beginner, don't try to read intermediate or native level content because they contain very advanced vocabulary and complicated grammar structures, so you won't learn anything. Find beginner level content like children's short stories with repeated phrases, lots of illustrations, and simple vocabulary to achieve your conversational fluency faster. Number 3, just try to get the gist of it. Don't stretch too much about understanding every single word you read. Of course, as a beginner, you won't understand everything you read. So instead, just try to understand the plot of it, just get the context of the story. Number 4, don't translate too often. A problem that I faced quite a few times is that while reading, I ended up translating almost every other word I was not understanding. This resulted in less time dedicated to reading, which was the main objective, and spending more time in translating. Let the learning happen on its own and just enjoy the reading. Instead of interrupting your reading by translating too often, notice the words that are occurring more than 5 or 6 times in one page, and then translate them and know the meaning of them, because they are the most important words in the context of the story. Number 5, read endless times. This is by far the most important thing to do when reading in a foreign language. Reading a piece for a couple of times will not be of any good. While reading, divide the story into 4 or 5 small parts and then read every part as much as you can before moving on to the next part. This tip is super beneficial as you need repetition to make the words stick in a long-term memory. In my case, I read every chapter of a story probably 15 or 16 times or even more. And after completing all the chapters, I would read the whole story together again for at least 4 or 5 times. This repeated reading helped me a lot to acquire the language more quickly. And lastly, number 6, have fun. Don't stress too much, have fun in the process. Language learning is not a compulsion like schooling. I know it's dark, but it's true. You learn a language because you have a certain amount of interest for a particular language, or you like languages in general. So being stressed out in doing something you like is a big shame. So just trust in the process and make it more memorable.